hang on. There is a cow going down the road and it's bellowing for its calf. So as long as you can hear us over that.
Yeah.
Okay,
there we go. I think we can start now.
Okay, you start, Chris.
My name's Chris Scott-Park from Portnellan Farm. We have an organic beef farm on the south shore of Loch Lomond. And we've diversified over the last few years into accommodation, boat moorings, boat trips, kayaks, paddleboards, and we do a few farm tours as well. I think that covers most of what we do.
My name's Freda Scott-Park. I came to the area in 1983 when I married David, who was farming with his father. And as a veterinary surgeon, I had my own business, or, you know, the ability to work for myself, which was actually very, very important in the early days of farming, because it's always been very difficult to make enough money to support families just through farming. And I have to say that for the first 25 years, you know, we were concentrating on, you know, being a dairy farm, finding that wasn't working, and then moving to organic beef, a really quality product. And we went to the farmers markets for many years, learnt what the customer wanted, and we decided that we'd try you know, just to go on beef alone. And we got a lot of help at the time. The national park was setting up and offering, you know, individual businesses business plans to help them develop their business. And that was really quite exciting, because it made us realize that if we wanted to support 3 generations, which used to be David's father, David and myself, and then Chris, we really had to do other things as well. And that is really diversification. And so probably for the last 15 years, we've been able to diversify just really because we're in a lovely location. And I think the national park is a great place to be. It's a cachet that you can offer to your visitors.
What perhaps one of the, I don't know if it's a downside, but obviously the national park is a popular place for people to visit, and you've just got to make sure that it stays a beautiful place and is protected in some way for those who, both those who visit and for those who live and work here.
Yeah, I mean, the way I've always seen it, and, you know, I know the draft plan is all about, well, one of the main things is restoring nature. And you've put that quite interesting term, future nature, which I find quite difficult to remember, in place. But it is about restoring nature, but it's always going to be a balance, isn't it? If you have thriving local communities, they're going to look after their local patch, which is great. And you want to welcome visitors and showcase this amazing place that we live in, but managing their numbers so that they have minimal impact on the environment that you're trying to preserve and treasure is quite a challenge. And we've always realized that on Portnellan, that we've always tried to do activities that bring people down in small numbers. You know, lots of people have suggested, why don't you do a farm shop or something like that? But, you know, that could bring droves down. And, you know, that's not suitable for our roads. Our neighbours wouldn't approve of that at all. So you try and bring people down in the small numbers. And I think they leave with that element of, yeah, we've had a really special experience down here.
Well, I think we've maybe already touched on one just there. Visitor management, I suppose. Some of the more popular spots around the national park are becoming very, very busy. Parking is becoming an issue. Litter collection, things like that. Toilets, yeah. So some of these areas perhaps need some help to make sure that the infrastructure is there.
Transport links would be good too. I think people are beginning to get to the stage where they'd like to go to somewhere where there's a great big car park. They won't have any difficulty parking and nobody's going to shout at them. And they would probably quite like to hop on an EV of some description, an electric vehicle that would take them to some of the hotter spots where they can get out and they can spend, you know, a length of time there, or get on a boat and, you know, do a trip or something like that. And I think that's where partnership working is going to be great. You know, and just signposting people to the right place where they can enjoy themselves without feeling that they're not being made welcome, because that's just the worst thing, isn't it?
For public transport to work, it needs to be reliable. There needs to be a reliable service. It needs to be reasonably priced so that people can afford it. You know, if it's more expensive to take the bus than to drive their car, they're not going to do it. And it needs to be good quality. And if you can get all those three things, there is no reason why public transport shouldn't work. We do manage a little bit of land in the national park. So what can we do for, you know, improving biodiversity and helping with climate change? I mean, we are an organic farm and have been for over 20 years now. And I think that for our part, we are trying to manage the land in a sympathetic way to nature. And hopefully by doing so, we are increasing the biodiversity on the farm and playing in a very small way our bit to help tackle climate change as well. The things that we're going to have to look at very soon is putting in electric vehicle charging points. So that's one thing we're kind of looking at the moment. In the past, we have worked with the national park, and there was some funding available for replanting hedgerows. So we did do quite a lot of planting a few years ago, and I think the national parks, it certainly ran it last year. I don't know if it's still available, but they did have a sort of small scale tree planting scheme as well. Now, I don't know whether that's going to continue, but I think that sort of thing is great because it will encourage tree planting, even if it is on just a fairly small scale. But in many cases, you know, small scale tree planting is just what's required, just maybe to join up fragmented patches of woodland. So that sort of thing is really helpful. So you know, more funding like that is the sort of thing that you know, businesses like ours could really benefit from.
You know, small scale planting is really key to managing mitigating flood risk and actually improving the soil. And we all know about, you know, the networks that occur underneath the soil, the mycorrhizal networks, you know, where every single plant on the farm is communicating with the next one. You know, the value of that is huge. And I think we just need to refresh, you know, our woodlands and make sure that they're going to be there for the next generation. So there's a lot to do. And that's where the national park, I think, could be quite categorical and say, right, small scale planting, what can we do? You know, the right 20 trees in the right place. Let's think about how we can do this. You have the expertise, we have the land. Let's work together and try and make it a viable option to do it, because it can be quite expensive planting trees. It's not so much the planting trees, it's putting the protection around for the rather numerous amount of deer that are around just waiting for a tasty morsel to grow up and nibble it. So yeah, I think that's where the national park can really contribute a lot. And, you know, that is a true partnership going forward.